Moi, I'm Pinja, a small designer here in Finland. If you're new around here, tervetuloa. Welcome to my little channel where I make cozy crafting, embroidery, wedding dresses, cosplay project, show you about cosplay competition and everything crafting and whimsical and pretty much anything related to any kind of crafting, basically. Welcome! I make designs like this, and this. Like I already said, I'm a small designer, I'm a professional seamstress. I'm gonna make another video where I explain to you how I actually became a full-time designer in Finland, but stay tuned for that. In this basic video, I'm gonna show you how you can make my latest design, the Jester dress. So, I got idea for this dress when I was just walking around in a nearby fabric store, and they have these gigantic baskets full of like leftover and unsold dead stock fabrics, and just like overall smaller fabric pieces that you can like dig around and find what you want. So I found these two fabrics. Wait. These two fabrics. This is the actual dress, so wait. These two fabrics. So one is like this cute vine fabric, and the other one is solid green. And I thought they look really cute together, so I was like, yeah, why not make a dress from that? So that is basically how I came up with this specific dress idea. I made all the patterns in a size XS to XXL. And I also have instructions in English and Finnish, and now in this video you can also see how I'm sewing the dress. And hopefully you also want to make this dress and be extra cute this summer and autumn and winter, because I think dresses are appropriate clothing for any kind of season. But yes, now that we're done with the intro, let's go for the sewing. Okay, so for the starters, you need to cut all the pieces, but keep in mind that you need to make sure that all the pieces are in correct direction so you don't end up with the wrong color on the wrong side. Next, you can start by sewing the side seams and the shoulder seams. You should overlock the back seam separately and then sew it together. Here you can see how your dress should start looking. You should seam the back side flat so it lays better on the dress. And here it is from the front. The neck facing is also in two separate pieces, so first you should sew the pieces together. Then you can overlock the outer curve. This is not necessary, but it helps to turn the curve edge. You can definitely turn it without the overlocking, but this is always a lot more easier to do. Now you can sew the neck facing onto the shoulder seam of the inner side of the front piece. Now you can sew the necklines together, and after that you can stitch the inside of the neckline 1 mm from the edge. This will help keep the neckline clean and stay put when you're using the dress. The next step is the shoulder seams. So here you can see that they are still separated on the inner and outer layer. For this dress, I wanted to keep the back side 1 layer and the front side 2 layers, to give more coverage on the front and keep it more lighter on the back. So here I want to sew the shoulder in a back seam so that the shoulder seam looks clean. So basically you put them together and then you sew them together until you meet the neck lining on the seam. Then you just turn it and then you have it. You should steam all the pieces flat and also pin the other side of the neck facing in place for the hand stitching. The neck facing is hand stitched on place. So here you can see that you just take few little threads on the dress and then a bit larger piece on the neck facing, and that is how you can cleanly make hidden stitch. The side seams are also now sewn in the back seam. You can definitely just sew them together and overlock it, but I like to make my side seam like this because they're always so clean looking. Now we can start the sleeves. First you should sew the inside seam of the sleeve, and then you can sew the ruffle pieces into circles and iron them in half. Then make a gathering stitches, and then you can start gathering them and pinning them evenly onto the sleeve. Finally, you should overlock all the ruffled seams together, and you can also now go ahead and attach the sleeves to the bodies, also overlock that seam too. Next we have the hem. Firstly, assemble the hem by sewing the side and the back seams together. Then you can sew gathering stitch onto the waist seam and also on the marked area on the bodies. Now you should align the front, side and the back seams together and start gathering the waist seam while also pinning it evenly and then sew it onto the bodies. Instead of gathered ruffles, the hem lining will have pleats that you need to align with the side seams and the marked areas on the pattern. The hem lining doesn't have ruffles, so the waistline doesn't look too bulky. After you have sewn the side and the back seams of the hem facing, iron 1 cm on the inner edge. You can do this later, but I find it easier to do it now rather than later when the facing is already attached to the hem. Now you can sew on the hem facing, and after that, stay stitch it on place and steam it flat while also pinning the inner edge on place. Then comes the most tedious part, hand sewing the whole facing on place. You can definitely do this part just by stitching it with the sewing machine, but if you wanna keep it professional and make it really extra clean, you can do it by hand. Now we're almost done with the dress and we can continue making the button placket. As you can see, my dress has a seam here, but don't do that. I ran out of fabric, so leave that seam out of your dress. So first you should sew the button placket inside of the dress, right sides facing each other. Then finish both ends of the placket, turn it inside out, steam it and pin it. I would also recommend base stitching it on place, but I chose only to pin it, but you should definitely base stitch it before top stitching it. Now we can start adding the buttonholes. This buttonhole foot that I have here has this measuring device that you put your button in it, and it kind of magically makes the correct size of buttonhole. In the instructions, you first start with the top button, then you make the waistline button, and after that you need to evenly measure out the remaining buttons. For my dress, I wanted to add a little bit of embroidery on the plain side, so it would match a bit better on the print side, and also I just really like making embroidery. The embroidery technique is very simple, and it would be easier to make the embroidery before actually sewing the dress, but since I have been making embroidery for the past 5 years now, basically every single day, 8 hours a day, this is really easy to me. If you want to do embroidery on your dress, do it before you sew the dress. Here you can see the finished embroidery. I kind of wanted to mimic the shape of the leaves and the vines on the printed side, so they kind of match. I think it gives more whimsical vibes for the overall dress. I already wore this dress a few times, so it's a bit wrinkly, don't mind that, but I'm really happy with the sleeves. They're so big and ruffly, and here is, like, you can see overall the sides. I just top stitched some belt loops I wanted to make the belt in a way that I can take it off because I can wear other belts with the dress. Okay, so now that you're done with your dress and I'm done with my dress, I think it's time to go to the forest. On aika lähteä mettään vähän juoksentelemaan ja pyörimään siellä saniaisten joukossa mun koiran kanssa. Nauttikaa. That is a little bit of Finnish for you. So basically, enjoy me frolicking around in the forest with my dog. Thank you. If you want to see more videos like this and don't want to miss out of my upcoming cosplay projects, subscribe. Thank you for watching. Kiitos. Link says subscribe.